SpaceX has reportedly signed an AI computing deal worth up to $6.3 billion. And no, this is not about putting ChatGPT inside a rocket and asking it to find Mars. The deal is with Reflection AI, a startup building models that can be openly inspected and modified. Reflection will get access to Nvidia's newest AI chips inside Project Colossus, the enormous computing facility operated by SpaceX. So one of the biggest SpaceX AI stories is not really about rockets, satellites, or space travel. It is about SpaceX becoming a landlord for artificial intelligence. And the rent is apparently very high. The agreement could be worth up to $6.3 billion through 2029. One report puts the cost at roughly $150 million a month. There is an important word in that sentence, up to. This does not mean Reflection has already transferred $6.3 billion into Elon Musk's account while someone presses a large green button marked AI. It is the maximum potential value of the agreement over several years. The amount actually spent will depend on how much computing capacity Reflection uses and how the arrangement develops. But even with that qualification, this is a huge deal for a relatively young AI company. And it tells us something important about where the AI business is going. For the past few years, most attention has gone to the companies building the models. OpenAI builds GPT, Anthropic builds Google builds Gemini. But these models require enormous amounts of computing power. They need specialized chips, giant data centers, electricity cooling systems, and extremely fast networks connecting everything together. You cannot train a top AI model on the laptop sitting beside your coffee, at least not unless your coffee table has its own power station. Reflection wants to train open models using Nvidia GB300 chips at Project Colossus. An open model is one whose internal settings can be made available for developers to study, modify, or run themselves. That does not automatically mean every part of the training process is public, but it generally gives developers more control than a closed service accessed only through an app or an online account. The deal gives Reflection something that is becoming increasingly difficult to secure: a very large supply of modern AI chips. That is where SpaceX enters the picture. SpaceX has built massive computing infrastructure, and it now appears willing to rent some of that capacity to outside AI companies. That could create a major new source of recurring revenue. SpaceX would not need to build every AI model itself. It could make money by providing the machinery other companies need to build theirs. Think of it like owning a very expensive kitchen during a gold rush for restaurants. You do not have to create the best dish. You can charge every chef who needs an oven. This also shows how closely the space, energy, and AI industries are beginning to overlap. SpaceX already operates rockets, satellites, and the Starlink communication network. Large AI facilities require strong power supplies, advanced engineering, and enormous capital investment. Those are all areas where SpaceX already knows how to work at an unusual scale. But Reflection is also taking a serious risk. Paying for computing capacity does not guarantee that the model trained on it will be successful. The company still needs strong research, reliable data, capable engineers, and customers willing to use whatever it builds. A startup can rent billions of dollars worth of chips and still produce a model that people politely test once before returning to ChatGPT. So the practical question is not simply whether Reflection has access to Colossus. It is whether that access helps Reflection build something good enough to compete with companies that already have models, customers, and global distribution. And while SpaceX is selling the machines needed to build more powerful AI, OpenAI is showing what those increasingly powerful models can do once they are trained. OpenAI has expanded its cybersecurity program called Daybreak and is giving selected defenders access to GPT 5.5 Cyber. This is a specialized AI model designed to find weaknesses in software and help security teams repair them. The full model is not being released to everyone. Access is being limited to approved cybersecurity professionals, research partners, and organizations that OpenAI considers trusted defenders. The restriction matters because cybersecurity AI has an obvious problem. A model that can locate a security weakness can help a company repair it. The same model could also help an attacker understand how to exploit it. The skill is the same. The difference is who is typing the request. OpenAI's strategy is to place the more capable version of the model in the hands of defenders while controlling who receives access. The expanded Daybreak program also includes an updated version of Codex security. The system can scan software, identify possible vulnerabilities, and help prepare fixes. OpenAI is also supporting an effort called Patch the Planet. That name sounds like a campaign run by an extremely optimistic software engineer, but the objective is practical. The program is working with more than 30 open source projects to find weaknesses and help get repairs into software that millions of people and businesses may depend on. Open source software is everywhere. It can appear inside websites, company systems, mobile applications, cloud services, and government infrastructure. A single hidden weakness in a widely used piece of code can affect thousands of organizations that may not even realize they're using it. The hard part is not always finding the vulnerability. Someone must confirm it, understand the consequences, create a repair, test the repair, and persuade the people maintaining the software to accept it. That is where the updated system could be useful. Instead of simply announcing, I found a dangerous hole in your software, it is supposed to help move the process toward an actual tested fix. That matters. A long list of discovered problems is not especially comforting if nobody repairs them. But there are still questions OpenAI will need to answer. How accurately does GPT 5.5 Cyber identify real vulnerabilities? How often does it produce false alarms? Can its suggested fixes create new problems? And how effectively can OpenAI prevent the model from reaching people who want to use it offensively? Restricting access reduces the risk. It does not make the risk disappear. Cybersecurity models may also become harder to control as similar capabilities appear in other systems. OpenAI can decide who uses GPT 5.5 Cyber. It cannot decide whether another laboratory builds something comparable and releases it with fewer restrictions. That creates a difficult race. Security teams need better tools because attackers are gaining better tools. But every improvement in automated cybersecurity can potentially improve both defense and attack. So these two stories are connected. The SpaceX deal is about the enormous physical infrastructure required to create more capable AI. The OpenAI story is about what happens when that growing capability reaches a sensitive area such as cybersecurity. One company is renting out the computer power, another is deciding who should be trusted with the results. For SpaceX, the next thing to watch is whether Reflection actually uses enough capacity to bring the deal close to its $6.3 billion maximum, and whether the models it trains attract real users. For OpenAI, the test is more immediate, whether GPT 5.5 Cyber produces verified fixes for important software without creating a new collection of security problems along the way. Because an AI buying the chips makes the announcement, what the system actually delivers comes later. If you like this episode of Stress-Free AI News, do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. That helps us a lot. See you in the next episode.